Welcome to History Mystery Monday. Today we're going to take a look at a woman who walked into Kyoto in the summer of 1449 and was said to be 800 years old. But before we get started discussing one of the oldest cautionary tales of why not to eat something when you don't know what it is, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of new videos. Early in the summer of 1449, a Buddhist nun entered Kyoto with an entourage of 20 other nuns. She was said to be the legendary Shiro Bhikkhuni of Wakasa. Although her original name is lost to time, she is known by many names: Shira or Shiro Bhikkhuni, Yao Bhikkhuni, and Hapyaku Bhikkhuni. A bhikkhuni is a fully ordained woman into Buddhist monasticism. Shira or Shiro refers to the color white. Yao and Hapyaku reference to her being many years or 800 years old. What is so fascinating about this particular incident is that the activities of this mysterious nun are recorded in several courtly diaries in the 15th century. But this is close to the end of the story. Let's go back to the beginning. There are versions of this legend all over Japan. But there are two main origin stories of the 800-year-old nun. Both surround a young girl who inadvertently eats a mermaid that has been cooked by a fisherman. Now, a mermaid or ningyo, not to be confused with the word ningyo, which means doll, in Japan is not the beautiful siren of Western tales. It is a horror and a curiosity, a fish with a human face and a childlike voice that cannot speak. The collection of tales Kokon Chomonju, Record of Things Heard, Past and Present from 1254 AD, describes the appearance of the mermaid in great detail. A story of Ise province, now Mie prefecture, in the previous century, tells how several fishermen catch 3 fish, only their heads are human-like. Sometimes they are also described as monkey-like, with protruding mouths with small teeth. When approached, they cry out and burst into tears. There are widely differing opinions on whether the ningyo are good or bad omens. In most cases, it is considered bad luck to eat one. Now, most stories of the Hapyaku Bhikkhuni differ only in the wealth of the girl's father, who attains the cooked ningyo. There are 2 that are wildly different, which involve the girl's father being the one to capture and cook the mermaid, and one other where the girl is favored by the Dragon King, and he gives her the fish to eat as a gift. But I'm going to work from the 2 main stories, which have her originating from Obama, Wakasa province. If she was 900 years old, as is stated in the Hiketsu no Monogatari, that would place her as living at the beginning of the Asuka period, which spans from 538 AD to 710 AD. The 29th emperor, Kinmei, also the first that can be historically verified, is on the throne. Buddhism was only just about to be introduced to Japan, and the kimono does not exist. Japanese dress for women was a long skirt and a tunic. In both origin tales, a fisherman catches and prepares a mermaid for a feast. The Hapyaku Bhikkhuni's father is either another fisherman who comes to his friend's house, or a wealthy man by the name of Takahashi Gondaiyu, whom the fisherman has prepared the meal for. All attending the meal refuse to eat the flesh of the mermaid, as someone has snuck into the kitchen and seen the fish with the human face being prepared, and warned the other attendees about it. All of them hide the fish on their persons and discard it later, except for one. Whether it is a fisherman who had too much sake and gives his nagging daughter the fish to quiet her, a fisherman who hides the fish in his kitchen and the young woman finds it later, or a wealthy man who also hides the fish in his kitchen for his daughter to find later, well, suffice it to say, the young woman, who is said to be about 16, eats it, not knowing what it is. Her father questions her upon its disappearance when he discovers it, and she admits to eating it. She is watched carefully for fear some misfortune will befall her. But as the years go by and all seems well, most forget about the incident, until the young woman stops aging and all those she loves dies before her. Instead of becoming bitter, she chooses to use the time given to her to wander the countryside and bring joy to others. Now, back to the historical documentation following the Hapyaku Bikuni. There is an Otogizoshi from 1450 that mentions her. According to Takuda Kazuo, it is considered the first literature that documents the legend. It is called Hiketsu no Monogatari, a tale of calligraphy brushes, or the brushmaker's tale. The main character is a tanuki, a raccoon dog that is native to Japan, masquerading as a human. On a mission to the capital, the hero and his companions find a large number of people gathered at the Nishidoin Temple, where a nun from Wakasa has been preaching. The tanuki and his two friends are then flagged down by the strange nun, who engages them in a religious dialogue and regales them with stories and explanations of the origins of various professions, arts, and technologies. She is very knowledgeable, and she also tells them her own story. Although she appears to be in her 80s or 90s, she is in fact 900 years old. She informs them that although recently people have taken to calling her the 800-year-old nun, she was originally known as the White Nun of Wakasa, and that she became a disciple of Hoto Kokushi when she visited his temple on a pilgrimage to Kimono. As to her name, Nakahara Yasutomi, who lived from 1399 to 1457, writes in his diary that she might be called Shiro Bikuni because her hair is all white. Now, others theorize it could also be her pale skin or the white camellia she was known to carry and plant during her travels. It could also be a reference to traveling women who performed works of a religious nature known as shiradayu during the Muromachi period. In the diary of the court noble Hirohashi Tsunamitsu, who lived from 1431 to 1477, he notes, on the 8th day of the 6th month of Bunan 6, or 1449 as we'll refer to it from here on out, Shiro Bikuni is going to visit the imperial palace, I hear. Her age is said to be 800 years. She is going back home today. She must be a shapeshifter. It is ominous. There are various questionable things about her, so they are investigating and selecting the documents all day. On the following day, the 9th day of the 6th month, 1449, Tsunamitsu writes, I heard yesterday the Shiro Bikuni was supposed to visit the imperial palace, but she hasn't showed up yet. It is so very strange. Another account is found in the diary of Zen priest Zuikei Shuho, who lived from 1391 to 1473. On the 26th day of the 7th month of 1449, he describes, the master of Josuian Hermitage says that recently an 800-year-old nun from Wakasa province came to the capital and people rushed to see her. However, the place she was staying was tightly closed, and it was not easy to take a glimpse of her. So those with wealth and high status paid 100 sen, and lowly people 10 sen to see her. Sadly, there seems to have come a time when she decided the sorrow of a long life was more weight on her shoulders than bringing joy to others could relieve, and the Shiro Bikuni retired to a cave in Obama, Wakasa, at the gate of Kuiniji Temple. There she planted a camellia tree at the door and said as long as the tree bloomed, it meant she still lived, and when it faded, so had she. That cave is still visible at the entrance to the temple, and the camellia tree, it lives to this day. Thank you for joining me for this ancient legend of Japan, and I'll see you again for another History Mystery Monday.